Okay, this talk is about compromise, or why I'm my own worst coworker. It's an approach to getting stuff done when people don't agree. It kind of focuses on technical work, but I think it's kind of good for everybody. Well, except that this talk is about me. It's about, hi. Oh, okay. You can stay. But this talk is about me. It's about how I try to avoid sabotage and compromise, and a little bit about how I know when not to compromise and what I do to compromise. So, oh, it worked. The scope. What kind of compromise are we talking about here? It's the kind of compromise where you meet in the middle. So it's not about, say, like compromising secret agents or compromising your immune system or compromising your principles. It's not about any of that. It's about trying to get work done when there are two different sides, two different approaches to a problem. And you need to get to an agreement to get something done. This is just going through the steps I take to get to an agreement. So who I am, I'm JJ, Mary J. Everyone's called me JJ since before I was born. My parents still call me JJ. I'm a contract software engineer currently working for Vox Media. I used to work with XWP, which is an enterprise WordPress agency, for a couple of years, not at the same time as Mike, but almost. And I freelanced before that for one main client for about 12 years, taking them from a small book website to a multi-million-dollar company. And why this talk? Well, this is something I've had to work on and think about a lot. I recycled my slides for this, to use the design. And the note on this one said, one of my favorite talks was in the olden days of WordPress London. And Scott Karras was talking about his development process, not what he used so much, but his approach to things. And I found that incredibly helpful and love hearing how other people do it. So when your process doesn't match mine, I'd love to talk about it. It's kind of fun. This doesn't come naturally to me, compromise. I'm really stubborn, and it's a skill I'm still learning. So the too long didn't listen is this talk is about mainly knowing what I want to do, understanding what the other people want to do, and then communicating with each other about how to do it. I find it really simple, but not at all easy. So this is the example I'm going to be using. This is the plugin update. One of the sides was this plugin update requires weeks of regression testing. Everyone has to buy in. We have to test absolutely everything, and everyone has to do it. And the other side was, let's just YOLO it. If it fails, we'll revert. It's a fictionalized version of a real story. And the compromise here is pretty obvious, and there's no tension to the story. There's no twist or anything. This is just an illustration. A disclaimer here, like if you saw the previous slide and thought, well, one of the sides is right and one of the sides is wrong. I work with amazing engineers who are also excellent colleagues, and both of these are valid approaches. Even at the extremes, they both would have worked. So this is the plugin update. We were updating the WP GraphQL plugin, which, unlike a lot of other WordPress plugins, had breaking changes due to an underlying dependency update. This plugin affects almost every page on over 200 sites across 4 brands. So millions of pages, and all of them could break if something broke during this update. If you're interested in the architecture, there's a talk from WordCamp US 2024 called Reinventing Vox Media's CMS, a WordPress migration journey. And it's a talk between Vox and XWP about that migration. But this update had huge amounts of baggage. It was supposed to have been done months ago by an external agency. There wasn't time to do it, and it seemed like an absolutely massive job to everyone involved. So my side of the plugin update was it'd be irresponsible not to really test. We need to spend a lot of time doing it. And their side was, we can just update it, and if it fails, catastrophically will revert, which I found very stressful. So how do we get to compromise? How do we get to a place where everyone buys into what we're doing? There was a line item on the DevSync agenda, WP GraphQL plugin update, so we started talking about it. But before anything, I had to admit that compromise was necessary, that I didn't have the answer. I wasn't going to get my way all the way. So the starting point was viewing the request in context. What else is happening? What else is going on? And this is how I do that. I look at where we're going, our goals, and where we are, our current situation. And this is an illustration of this. So if we're at the corner of Central Park, and I say, to get where we're going, we turn right and go up Broadway, but you say we turn left and go down 59th to 7th, they both make sense, but we're going to two different places. So we'll never agree on how to get there if we don't agree where we're going first. And by the same token, if we're in different places, we'll never agree how to get there if we're not starting from the same place, right? If I say, I'll meet you there in 10 minutes at the Flatiron Building, but you're in Brooklyn, that's not going to work for you. So what are our highest level goals? We want the sites to support editorial teams and what they want to do now and in the future, staying performant, secure, and available for users. Super pithy, like super pithy, but it helps to know here that you don't agree with someone's overarching goals. And for the plugin update in particular, we want to make security updates easier, especially if they're urgent. We need to do this so we can do future updates more quickly. And we want to allow player performance updates and other work, which depends on it. So this is blocking other stuff. We need to get it done. If there's a security update, we want to be able to do it quickly. So here's an example of defining goals and why I do it when talking about compromise. We had an internal failing service causing huge amounts of errors to be logged. If there are logs in excess of our quota, we lose the logging service until the quota resets. And it affects multiple platforms, not just the WordPress platform. So after we discussed it, we came up with 3 goals: to keep the external logging service functional, the internal failing service stops failing, and then the internal service is more robust. This allowed us to prioritize these differently. The first one we had to do immediately. We had to do that night. We had to get it done right away. And we could because it had a very low test service. It was easy to do. We just disconnected the logging service. The second goal could take a few days. It had a slightly larger test service, so we had to test a bit more, but we could do it within a few days. And then the third is still in the backlog because it's a refactor. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, but not for this. These are some useful words for emergencies. Mitigate, so you counteract the effects of something that's happening. Oh, I thought of a good example for this. Like if I have my button on my trousers, the third one always comes undone. So if I'm walking around and I notice the button is undone, pulling my sweater down is mitigating it. Buttoning the button is remediating it. And refactoring is resewing on a different button so it doesn't open anymore. I was pretty proud of that analogy. Yeah. So then the request in context, where are we? What's going on around us? Well, doing it, there are outstanding requests for bug features and new features, or bug fixes and new features. And the requests for other work are more than we can handle. We don't have a lot of time to do stuff. And where we are, what do we have at our disposal? What do we know? What can we count on? Our rollback strategy is tested and works well. And knowing that is a good thing. How we got there, probably not ideal. But we do know that we can roll back when something bad happens. And the appetite for risk from engineering leadership is pretty high. So if we have to roll back, it's going to be okay. And the work has already been started, and the most glaring issues have been fixed. And I have to confess here that I'm the person that started the work and fixed the most glaring issues. So I should have been way more comfortable with releasing this. And there is work dependent on this, which more work depends on, which more work depends on. It's a cascading dependency and fairly urgent. So now we know we want to get to the same place from where we are, but we disagree on how to get there. Oh, so it's not always true that we want the same things. At any point, you might find that you want something different and that these goals are not compatible. And that's a different sort of compromise, and different decisions have to be made. There's a really good book called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni that kind of goes over this, building consensus about what you should do. And it's not a well-written book, but it's interesting and it's short. And it has some good ideas about building consensus around goals. So the second step is like, why do they want to do it that way? Why do they want to do like absolutely no testing? And I'm exaggerating. They wanted to do a little testing. Well, we scheduled a time to talk about it, where I take the time and remind myself that I need to listen to understand what they're talking about. And this is something I have to remind myself too. It's possible to understand someone's opinion without agreeing with it. So like, just because I can understand what someone is saying doesn't mean I agree with it. And it kind of feels like it does sometimes. It feels like if you can understand what someone's saying or where they're coming from, that you agree with it, but that's not true. So I listen with the aim of understanding, even if I know I'm not going to agree with it. What is their proposal, and why that approach? First, when I'm listening, I have to not assume I know the details. So they initially said YOLO, and they say YOLO. They say YOLO to me. YOLO, let's just put it out there and revert. This has been said to me more than once. I think they're kind of winding me up, but so I don't assume I know the details and that they actually want to just release this to production with no testing. And I let them change their mind. And I have to consciously remind myself of that. Like, don't call it out if someone changes their mind, just let them do that. Because like, I don't like it when someone calls it out when I change my mind. I just kind of want it to slide along. So what is their proposal now when we talk about it? They want passive testing during ongoing development on an environment where editorial testing is done, so that gets done also, but passively, and to use an external regression testing suite, which I didn't know about. Do they have more priorities? Are there more priorities than just this? Are there technical priorities? Are there operational priorities? Like, is someone going on holiday next week and that's why they're suggesting this? Well, in this case, they were very conscious of team time and worried about it, and that was a priority for them. And they wanted painless editorial testing because they knew getting editorial testing was going to be difficult. And these are really good concerns that fit in with our goals. I agree with these. So another example is a request to create a custom post type to be used for content in a blog. I was like, why do you want to do it that way? That's really confusing to me. But when we talked about it, there was a technical priority to have possible future use for standalone front-end pages. So it was a valid request. And sometimes after I listen to what someone proposes and hear what they say, like this might be where I stop. There's no compromise necessary because theirs is a much better idea. So we're just going to do that, right? We don't have to do the back and forth about how we're going to compromise. They just have the better way. So the third step is, why do I want to do it my way? Which is, what is my proposal and why did I choose that approach? Has my proposal changed based on what I've heard and understood? Have I listened and incorporated what they've said? Am I moving closer to what they want? For the plugin update, it was a full test suite, which includes regression testing, but no explicit editorial team testing. And test organically on an editorial testing environment, because that's a really good idea. We're never going to get full editor buy-in because they don't have time either. And the reason I gave for that approach is more testing de-risks the update, which could have a major impact across all the brands, right? And this is absolutely true, and it's completely valid, and it is not false in the least. But if I think about why I want to take that approach, like all the reasons I want to take that approach, and I'm completely honest with myself about what is influencing my opinion, and this is the not fun part for me. my head is something like this. It's like, I'm really scared. I'm really scared that it's gonna fail, and I'm gonna be by myself, I'm not gonna know what to do, and I'm gonna have to press this button at the same time. This person is talking to me, and everyone's gonna hate me, and I don't know, bad things, just really bad things. So what helps is I name the demons, right? Like in all the stories, when you name the demons, you get control over the demons. So I think through, what actually am I really, really, really scared of? Narrow it down, put it into words. So all the reasons now, risk, blah, blah, blah. And I'm scared needing to deal with it all by myself if it fails. And the key for me in this situation was all by myself, was doing it all by myself. That was what I was really, really scared of. And this is a life hack if you want one. Like, if you can think through what you're really scared of, or like why you feel what you feel, and put it into words, then it is so much easier to do something about it. Just infinitely easier. So anyway, we're getting to something actionable. So the questions I ask myself now are, is doing what I'm doing really going to sort out all these concerns? Is there something better I could be doing now that I know what I'm actually concerned about? It's easier to solve defined problems. Like if you can put something into words, you've kind of contained it, you have a handle on it, it's easier to solve. So yeah, my final proposal, I'm going to organize the deployment time to ensure someone's around. Explicitly, I'm going to say, could you be around for 3 hours after this deployment? Because with caching and everything, it takes a while for things to show up. I'm going to explicitly communicate risk and deployment plans to my manager, who again is awesome. And when I communicate risk, I say, I'm worried about this. This is a high risk thing. He says, what are you going to do if it fails? And I tell him, and he's like, great, I have your back. Then the technical things, regression suite testing with manual checks, test organically on editorial testing environment. So this is the compromise. This is what we did. And it was a success. Yay! And it was such a relief. Very stressful, but such a relief. So to recap, getting to compromise, and I might stop here if that's okay, because I have like a don't compromise section, which is like, don't compromise when you're right and someone else is wrong. Don't compromise because you think they're going to feel bad at you. I guess I could do it. Yeah, but it's this, I practice this part more. But that's okay, I'll go through it really quickly. Okay, we'll compromise. So this is the recap. View the request in context, listen to understand, and reevaluate and be brutally honest with myself. And again, I have to say, like, being brutally honest with myself pays dividends, because I end up getting what I want more, and addressing the things that I'm actually worried about or really want, blah, 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 that sort of thing. Not all situations are like that, and compromise is not always the right decision. Okay, so here are some examples when we didn't compromise because of a boundary. I didn't really know the right word to use here. Someone used boundary with me the other day to describe this. It's a hill you're willing to die on. It's a small thing that you kind of think is small, but you really, really believe in it. So one was refactor new code for future maintainability, small portion of new code. And another was change the technical architecture to fit a more established pattern. So one person felt really, really strongly, and these are unrelated things. One person felt really strongly that we needed to refactor new code for future maintainability. And the other person wanted to change the technical architecture to fit a more established pattern, but then didn't think that that was the thing to do. That was me. I didn't want to change the technical architecture to fit a more established pattern. And I felt really, really strongly about it. So how did we compromise? We didn't. We didn't. In each situation, we said, this is really important to me. And the other person said, okay, let's do it your way. Like, okay, I trust you, I respect you. This is clearly really important to me. I'm whatever. Let's just do it your way. And this is difficult sometimes, because saying what you want and what you mean to someone is hard. It's like hard to admit things are important. And it requires being able to trust someone. And not everybody's in this situation. You're lucky. I'm lucky that I'm in this situation. But the flip side is making concessions to avoid scary conversations. And I don't want to use a real life example for this because, like, why? That would be bad. But it's kind of like, you might feel bad, so I'll make concessions now to avoid that. But then when something bad happens, I'll blame you for it later. Like, I'm not going to stand up for what I believe right now, and I'm going to give in, but I'm going to blame you for it later. That's what happens. So like bad feelings are just feelings. Like sometimes I will feel bad, sometimes I know someone else will feel bad. Don't make compromises to try to avoid difficult feelings. And it's easier to explain if I use myself for an example. So like normal things people do where I feel threatened are like code reviews where I've done like this glorious feature and I love it and it works great. And they're like, that wasn't what we asked for. That's not the way to do it. That's a really bad idea, And they're right. And I know they're right. And they give me feedback in all the good ways you're supposed to give feedback. And there's nothing anyone can do to avoid me feeling bad. But it's the right thing to do. They should not compromise. But not pointing out issues because someone will feel bad about them or when you don't want to deal with the emotions really backfires. This way lies madness. And it's all this again. It's all this. Everyone goes through this. I showed my husband this slide, and I was like, is anyone going to know what I'm talking about? He's like, yeah, they'll get it. So, I mean, you might not understand all of that, but like, everyone's different. So don't compromise the work to avoid bad feelings. Someone said to me last year about someone who was going into a situation where they were going to be asked to compromise about something I was doing, that she is able to sit with discomfort. Like, I had a manager who was able to sit and let herself be uncomfortable and let everyone else be uncomfortable to stand up for what, she thought was correct in the work. And I thought that's the kind of person I want to be. I want to be able to sit with discomfort, to get through what we're doing. And that's actually it. Don't compromise when trusted people are defending a hill. Like if you trust them, just give in sometimes, it's fine. Don't compromise because the other approach makes me feel bad or to avoid difficult conversations. And I realize this whole talk is like my favorite cartoon ever, which is, I think you should be more explicit here in step 2. And in the middle is like, then a miracle occurs. And I don't know if you've had a math exam where you're asked to prove something and you work from the top down and the bottom up. It's kind of like compromise. And you hope you find the missing bit in the middle. And sometimes you do, and sometimes the miracle just doesn't occur. But that's it, the end.
We have mics if someone wants to ask a question.
Oh, should I leave it on the end?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I just have a question.
Here.
No, I don't need a microphone.
Well, but wait, I have a microphone on though.
Like for the hill you want to die on.
Yeah.
I generally think of it as like a negative connotation.
I know.
You're using it in a positive one there.
Yeah.
So, I was like, as you explained it more, I was like, oh, you mean it in like a good way, right? And so, it's almost like if you can go back to the slide where you were recapping the reasons to compromise.
Yeah. I can recap. Yes.
I actually just say that half the time.
Well, so like this, like you could almost use this as the reasons to not compromise, right? Obviously you want to listen to them in context and know where they're starting from.
Yeah.
Right? And you kind of like flip it from like you to them, and like listen and understand why their approach and how it might be wrong, right? Like if they have this hill that they want to die, and you're like, that sounds really like a bad idea, and it's like, listen to it, maybe they have a reason why, and it's like, oh, well, like, no one does that pattern anymore, or, or that library's outdated, maybe they're coming at it from a different direction. And then, number 3, this is so hard as a developer, right? Because, I I submit my code to like the QA person, and they come back with like 30 tickets or whatever.
No one uses jQuery anymore.
Maybe more, but it's like I used to take that personally, right? And
Yeah.
it's really easy to take it personally, and it's like that person's just doing their job. They're not being vindictive against me. If anything, I'm keeping them employed, right? That's what I say to them. And so so it's like it is hard to put those feelings aside, but it's like we have to remind ourselves, and sometimes like we literally have to like say it out loud to be like, I am being honest with you, not to be mean, but because like we want a good product, right? Or like like you were saying with your plugin idea, you wrote a great plugin, and that is
Oh,
a
I
great
didn't write that plugin. That's Jason Ball's plugin.
No, not
Okay.
the GraphQL one. The other one you were talking about, where you did a great
Oh,
piece of
right.
coding,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was the wrong piece of coding,
Yes.
right? And it's like
Yes.
okay, well that's a great piece of code. Let's just leave that aside for when that use case will be fulfilled, and like refactor it into like the thing we asked for, And it's like it's easy to be like, oh, but this thing is so great. It's like, okay, it's great, but no one's gonna use it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do what we want. So it's like, yeah, it is still hard. Like I've been doing this, I don't know how 30,
Very long
20 years,
time.
30 years almost. Jesus, 30 years, right? And it's still like this code is my baby, and it's like it's hard
Yes.
to get around that.
It's like, yeah, the advice to authors is always kill your babies, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I always
So,
do say also you do it better the second time. So when you like delete code and you're like, oh, I don't have a backup of this, you're like you write it better and faster the second time.
yeah.
There's a lot of, like, what I found is people do get really feel emotional attachment to things, and I'm like, you really have to put that aside.
Yes. You have to.
Put your ego aside, and it doesn't matter if I'm right or you're right. We go after the right answer. And sometimes, what I found a lot of times is usually a mix a little bit of the different perspectives that I found.
Right.
The compromise
between
exactly.
the two things.
But the right answer is because people are approaching a problem from like different angles, and each angle is valid, and the right answer is somewhere between the two.
Yeah.
So I had a call with a guy where like we were 3 45-minute calls about how to break through the subscription. My brain's not working anymore. But we were on our whiteboards literally writing everything down of how to get through the hard paywall.
Oh, right.
In a responsible way, not exposing too much content, right? And the answer was a little bit of what I was saying and a little bit of what he was saying, but it took us 3 45-minute sessions to come to that conclusion.
Yeah, and you have to like listen to each other.
Yes.
Right. You have to like.
Over each other, which we were probably doing half the time. So.
Yeah. I mean, I do that because I get like super overexcited. But yeah, I have to. That's why I have to like tell myself consciously, listen. Just listen, and then wait until you understand, and then come in with your idea. But yeah, it works really well. The thing about the hills is I had it on the slide and I forgot to say it. When you do that, where is it? Oh, and I'm looking for my notes. It's like if you let people have hills to defend, you get better code, like because you have all these really places where like good things happen, and it's an easy way to just make things better. And this is again, I have amazing colleagues, and I can say this is important to me. We're going to do this way. I'm never going to say yes to what you're proposing, and they can say, look, I really care about this, and I want you to do it that way. And we're like, okay, that's good enough. We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to compromise. We don't need to talk about it further.
Right. Well, you need to talk about it, right?
No,
but I'm saying like you had that conversation with them, and you're like,
oh
okay,
yeah,
yes,
yeah. But usually it's like a one-liner, like,
right,
this is always going to be a hard no for me, or like, I really care about this. Could you do it that way? And it's like, yep. Like, I don't have to agree. I don't have to understand.
Right.
And I have found that the code just gets better.
Right.
It's an easy way to make things better. Because people you trust and that are really good, they're right a lot, you know? That's the thing. Yes?
So, yeah, so sometimes if I'm too strong saying, oh, you know what, I think my way is correct, I'll always worry about the consequences if I'm wrong. You know, that's when,
Yeah.
the trouble comes. So how do you, or vice versa, the other person is doing that, and then when things go bad.
I'm like you. I'm like you. I'm like you. My way's right, and then I get really worried that I'm going to break everything. And what I do is I think through exactly what I'm worried about. So like with any specific piece of code, I'm worried about something different, right? Because I know the bad things that could happen because I wrote this code. Like I know the edgiest edge case ever, which would require an administrator, deleting everyone's account, say. That's just an example of like something that is actually never going to happen, or you have bigger problems if that happens. But I know all those things, so I define to myself what it is I'm actually worried about and how I'm going to, because I'm going to be scared when I deploy it, and how I'm going to deal with being scared as I do it. Like, so just understanding that I'm going to be scared and that it's okay to be scared, and I'm still going to do it anyway because that's what I do, that's my job, and getting through it and knowing what I'm going to look for, and just kind of a plan, and it helps. And actually, I don't suffer from anxiety. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm an absolute nutcase, but
all those words on the screen wasn't anxiety.
It's not actually. It's not actually. Like I know people who suffer from anxiety. I'm just I don't. I mean, I know it sounds like it. I just think about it. I'm very dull. Well, now that everybody has anxiety in the room, except for me, because I've gotten it out. I've put words to it. No, but like if I'm really stressed and there's like a deployment and my hands are cold, I'll go wash them in hot water. Like treating the physical symptoms like really helps. I told you that the other day. It's like I was so happy when I discovered that. So.
I mean, a lot of these things that people say, like, the hills they die on is coming from experience. It's coming from things going incorrectly, either something they did or seeing something that somebody else did. So they are usually rooted, and they're not just like, like a lot of people have opinions. They're just like, well, I think it's this way, but I've never really experienced this exact thing. But when people are like, oh, we should do it this way, it's like, no, we don't do it that way because alarms go off.
Yeah.
Like that, because I'm like, oh no, and I'm getting PTSD from 8 years ago when the site went down when I did this thing, the exact same thing this person's proposing, So.
Yeah, and it's so much easier when someone trusts you, like just trusts your experience, and you can say, no, that's a really bad idea. We're not going to do it that way, and they're like, okay, I trust you. Like maybe we'll talk about it sometime. Like what bad thing happened to you? Funny story.
Someone that has more experience with the piece of code, because I get this a lot
Yeah.
too. Because I oversee a sort of plugin guy wrote most of it for me. Because like, well, we do it this way, but we're not doing it that way. And I'm like, look, you thought about this for 5 minutes. I've been thinking about this for 5 years. So
Yeah.
just hang tight. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it must be tempting to like give in sometimes, like to what they say. But if it's not good for the code, you don't compromise.
You just gotta sit with it too. That's the other
Yeah.
thing, is to not have knee-jerk reactions. So I always would be like, oh, this is going on, and stuff. Like I trained myself better to be like, I need to sit with this for a little bit. I'll get back to you either tomorrow or whatever. Like, because I don't want to give a straight answer about it yet.
Yeah.
I need to sit with it, and maybe what you're saying is valid, and I don't want to immediately shut it down until I run it through a little bit. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
I have a tangential question. You mentioned feeling that this one, I think, said about you that you're comfortable with the discomfort. And I was curious, and I think this kind of ties into sitting with it. I was curious if there was ever a time, like in your career, where you were not comfortable with the discomfort?
Oh, well, this was my manager. My manager was comfortable with the discomfort, and the discomfort was me. Like not me.
Discomfort.
Discomfort was me. But there was a situation where she had to defend me, and someone reassured me, saying, "Look, it's okay. She can sit in discomfort. You know, she's gonna do this thing." Yeah, I think it's different sometimes because it's based on like who you are. So I'm happy to argue with anybody, and it doesn't affect me. I don't get upset. And, I mean, that's not true in every single case, but I don't mind arguments. I don't mind discussing various ways of code, you know, robust back and forth. Oh, we should do it this way. No, we should do it this way. You know, I love that sort of thing. I really actually like it. And some people hate it. I have realized some people absolutely hate it. So I think my discomfort is different than your discomfort. And I don't know, you just kind of train yourself or think it's going to be over.
Some people love debates, you know, and some people don't like debating because they're debating ideas and trying to either one up or not in software, not so much one up, I think. It's more about trying to speak their position. And some people, and sometimes people, like the other thing you got to be careful about, sometimes people speak a really good position and it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
someone is a little bit more timid or introverted and they don't speak up, so it's also important, like, you know, you got a room with a couple people on a thing and you have like one or two people like, you know, speaking and like telling, usually me, being told to shut up and let so-and-so speak. They, you know, making sure that, you know, you're not ignoring all the talent that you have on your team.
Yeah, and those people are listening. Like they're the ones listening to absolutely all of it. So they have really good opinions.
Yes.
I am not one of those people. I'm more like you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a question. I never used the word concession in the conversations. I don't know what an example of concession would be.
Oh, okay. So it's like I give something up. It's when you give something up. So if we were like meeting halfway, I guess there's a sports analogy, and I want to use the word concede, but I don't know enough about sports.
You ever watch The Office?
No. Is there a good? I mean, I did, but I don't.
Oscar has to wear a shirt with the poster.
You know what I'm talking about? It's win-win. Sorry.
So a concession is when you give something up. So if I, do you know football, like American football? Okay. You know how like they go up and down the field? And so if I concede 5 yards to you, you push me back 5 yards. There's no compromise in football, so I don't know why I did that, but that's a concession. So I give something up and you give something up.
I mean, it was like your testing example, right? It's like you wanted, let's make it hypothetical, right? Like someone wants to test everything, and other people want to test almost nothing, and so the person that wants to test everything concedes and say, okay, we'll test half of it, or we'll test only these high priority routes, right? And it's more than what they want to test, but they're like, okay, we will concede and test more stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so they're both giving up a little bit of their wants to like meet up the middle.
So it can be used for a compromise? I thought it was like you're avoiding a negative conversation.
Oh, it can be, it's used for compromise in,
So it can be positive and negative?
yeah.
So like
Yeah.
no one's completely happy, but no one's completely like unhappy because they got a little bit, like each person or each side got a little bit of something by giving up something maybe that they felt they could give up to get to the compromise.
Yeah.
Especially if they're at a stalemate and you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, so you get to an agreement where everyone's, again, equally happy and unhappy by giving something up on both sides. And the key is, for compromise, giving something up on both sides. It's not just one person giving completely in, it's mutual.
Have you ever had a situation where you said, you know what, do it my way because it's very important to me,
Oh, at that?
Both have the hills to die.
Yeah.
No, but it could happen.
Yeah, so I guess, sometimes I've been into that situation as well, and you have a third person come in and,
Either that or
An arbitrator.
Well-
either that or a cage match.
yeah.
Well, or actually, someone's always in charge.
Yeah.
Like, someone
That is
always
true.
gets to decide.
Someone is going to just be like, hear everything and then like make a decision.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll see like, I have to absorb this. You'll get a decision by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But if there's two hills, that's being fueled by egos, like no longer what's the correct decision, no? Or could it be?
It's not necessarily egos.
Or like a passion?
It could come from experience.
Okay.
One might be ego, one might be experience. They both might be ego, they both might be experience. It could also be that they're talking too much and no one's listening to the other person. And,
Or, like, if there's two hills, they haven't agreed what they're trying to do.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
they haven't like taken many
What the
steps
goal-
back
what
to
the goal
like what the actual goal is.
destination.
And that's why,
That was one of your first slides.
yeah, that's why like defining the goals is so important, because in that situation where we were having this, something was overloading our external error logging service, the gut instinct was just to fix our internal service and, kind of refactor it at the same time and take the hit. But when we talked about it, it became obvious that there were 3 goals. And one of them was easy to do immediately. So we did it immediately.
Cool.
Yeah. If you can teach people, like business people, the word mitigate, issues are so much easier. So thank you.